would not be at all superfluous to point out here some of the not so well known but remarkable examples of the perfectibility of the mental faculties and the talents of the Negro, which of course will not come unexpectedly upon any who has pursued the account of the most credible trailers on the natural disposition of the Negro. Their aptitude for learning all sorts of fine handiwork is well known. It is estimated that 9/10 of the ordinary craftsmen in the West Indies are Negroes. As examples of the capacity of the Negro for mathematical and physical science I only need to mention the Russian colonel of artillery, Hannibal. Hannibal was a real person at the time, not the Carthage animal, by the way. And the Negro Leslie of the Isle of France, who on account of his superior meteorological observations and trigonometrical measurements was appointed correspondent by the Paris Academy of Sciences. We also know from the most decided proofs of the uncommon insight which Negroes have into practical medicine. Negroes have also been known to make very excellent surgeons. The blacks have, for the most part, head and understanding enough. They comprehend easily and correctly, and their memory is of a tenacity almost incomprehensible. Finally, I am of opinion that after all the numerous instances I have brought together of Negroes of capacity, it would not be difficult to mention entire well-known provinces of Europe, from out of which you would not easily expect to obtain such offhand good authors, poets, philosophers, and correspondents of the Paris Academy. The Anthropological Treatise of Frederick Blumenbach, 1875. Now, while the southern peoples are of acute intelligence and infinite resource, they give away when courage is demanded because their strength is drained away by the sun. But those who are born in colder regions, by their fearless courage, are better equipped for the class of arms. Yet by their slowness of mind, they rush on without reflection, and through lack of tactics are balked by the purpose. Italy presents good qualities, which are tempered by admixture from either side, both north and south, and are consequently unsurpassed. And so, by its policy, it curbs the courage of the northern barbarians, by its strength, the imaginative self. Thus the divine mind has allotted to the Roman state an excellent and temperate region in order to rule the world. Vitruvius Pollio, Roman writer, 1st century before Christ. Each cup, each pipe, each spoon was an object of art perfectly worthy to be compared to the creations of the Roman style, European style. But all this was only the particularly tender and iridescent bloom which adorns a ripe and marvelous fruit. The gestures, the manners, the moral code of the entire people, from the little child to the old man, although they remained within absolutely natural limits, were imprinted with dignity and grace, in the families of the princes and the rich, as in the vassals and slaves. I know of no northern people who can be compared with these primitives for unity of civilization, and the peaceful beauty was carried away by the flood. But many men had this experience. The explorers who descended to the plains of the Congo, of Lake Victoria, of the Ubangi, men such as Speke and Grant, Livingston, Cameron, Stanley, Swinford, Junker, de Brazza, all of them made the same statement. The revelations of 15th and 17th century navigators furnished us with certain proof that Negro Africa, which extends south of the Sahara's desert zone, was still in full bloom, in the full brilliance of harmonious and well-formed civilizations. The striking beauty of the cloth, the fantastic beauty of the drawing and the sculpture, the glory of the ivory weapons, the collection of fairy tales equal to the 1001 Nights, the Chinese novels, and the Indian philosophy. Great states well ordered, and even to the smallest details, powerful sovereigns, rich industries, civilized to the marrow of their bones. And the condition of countries in the eastern coast, Mozambique for example, was quite the same. The idea of the barbarous Negro is a European invention, which has consequently prevailed in Europe until the beginning of this century. Leo Frobenius, Histoire de la Civilisation Africaine. Picasso is going crazy over Negro works and statues. Masks and fetuses from all over the countries of Africa are accumulating as it is placed. Those masks were not just pieces of sculpture like the rest, not in the least. They were magic. Now the Ethiopians, as historians relate, were the first of all men, and the proofs of this statement, they say, are manifest. And they say that they were the first to be taught to honor the gods, and to hold sacrifices and processions and festivals, and the other rites by which men honor the deity, and that, in consequence, their piety has been published abroad among all men, and it is generally held that the sacrifices practiced among the Ethiopians are those that are most pleasing to heaven. A witness to this they call upon the poet who is perhaps the oldest and certainly the most venerated among the Greeks. For in the Iliad, he represents both Zeus and the rest of the gods with him as absent on a visit to Ethiopia to share in sacrifices and the banquet which were given annually by the Ethiopians for all the gods together. For Zeus had yesterday, to Olson's bound, set forth to feast with the Ethiopia's thoughtless men, and he was followed there by all the gods. And they say that, by reason of their piety toward the deity, they manifestly enjoy the favor of the gods, insomuch as they have never experienced the rule of an invader from abroad. For from all time they had enjoyed a state of freedom and peace with one another. And although many and powerful rulers have warred upon them, not one has succeeded in the undertaking. Cambyses, for instance, they say, who made war upon them with a great force, both lost all his army and was himself exposed to the greatest peril. Semiramis also, who, though the magnitude of his undertakings and achievements has become renowned, after advancing a short distance into Ethiopia, gave up her campaign against the whole nation, and Hercules and Dionysus, although they visited all the inhabitants of the earth, failed to subdue the Ethiopians, who alone dwell above Egypt, meaning south of Egypt, because when you go south, that means you're going up the river Nile. The word Ethiopian amongst the Greeks and Romans was used for all people south of Egypt. The reason the Ethiopians were never conquered was both because of their piety of these men and because of the insurmountable difficulties involved in the attempt. They also say that Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Ethiopians, Osiris being the leader of the colony. The larger part of the customs of the Egyptians are, they hold, Ethiopian, the colonists still preserving their ancient manners. For instance, the belief that their kings are gods, the very special attention which they paid to burials, and many other matters of similar nature are Ethiopian practices, while the shapes of their statues and the forms of their letters are Ethiopian. For of the two kinds of writing which the Egyptians have, that what is known in popular demonic is learned by everyone, while what is sacred is understood only by the priests of the Egyptians, who learn it from their fathers as one of the things that they do not divulge. But among the Ethiopians, everyone uses these forms of letters. Furthermore, the orders of the priests, they maintain, have much the same position among both people, for all are clean and are engaged in service to the gods, keeping themselves shaven like the Ethiopian priests, and having the same dress and form of staff, which is shaped like a plow and is carried by the kings, who wear high felt hats which end a knob at the top of a circle by the serpents which they call asps, and the symbol appears to carry the thought that it will be the lot of those who shall dare to attack the king and counter death carrying stings. Many of other things are also told by them concerning their own antiquity and the colony which they sent out that became the Egyptians. But about this, there is no special need of writing anything. Diodorus, Greek historian, 1st century BC. The Ethiopians, being wiser than all other men, invented astrology and taught it to the Egyptians. Lucian, 2nd century AD.